Hello, let's give Jesus a great big hand. Thank you. I believe Jesus is God. He's the creator. He has all power in heaven and earth. We need to be on his side because the other side is the power of darkness, which has encompassed the whole world, and it is growing in intensity of power. When you look at AI, this is a real interesting statement. When you're looking at AI, there's a certain amount of engineering, there's a certain amount of mechanics, there's a certain amount of science, logic, reason, and then over here you have an unnatural force of darkness that moves in with it. To be able to distinguish between the two, that's a good question. God showed me that there is a certain degree in relationship with this where the power of darkness will come in and match the science and engineering. That's what I want to talk about. Have you ever heard of an Ouija board? Okay, before we talking about a Ouija board, let's talk about communication with the demonic realm. Christians should never communicate with fallen angels. That happens inside unfaithful churches when Satan will masquerade as a dead person. That's called necromancy. You would have fallen angels posing as dead relatives or a saint, or they would appeal to Mary, the mother of Jesus, and she's speaking back to them or communicating with them. That is communication between a demonic entity and people. The Bible explicitly says we're not to communicate with dead people. There is no communication. You can't do it. So when you think you are, not you, but when people think they are, they're actually communicating with a fallen angel, a demonic entity. So does that sometimes get involved with science or with mechanical things? Let me give you an example. In the late 60s, early 70s, they started out with these rock bands. A lot of the rock bands would tout that they worship Satan, that their music is inspired by Satan. They've had the crossroads effect where they make a deal with the devil. That happened in a lot of different rock bands and rock artists. And I remember back then, maybe if you're a younger person, you've never heard of this, but the vinyl records were state of art back then. We had 45s in the early days, and then we had 33 full-size albums out of vinyl. Cassettes came in later. I remember before cassettes. Then I remember the whole age of cassettes, and then it slipped or switched into CDs as far as music media. When they had the original records, these bands that touted their involvement in Satanism would sometimes have an aberration happen inside the recording of the record. If you would play the record backwards, a voice would be speaking out of the record telling you, they used to say it would speak and say, this is Satan speaking to you, and it would be occult messages coming off of the record on the record turntable, if you turn the record backwards. And then there were rumors that sound engineers were actually putting this voice into the record. So when you spin it backwards, you could hear the words coming out, demonic. So there was that. But there was never any proof that that was done. But there was also people that believed when you spun these records backwards, it was a relationship with a demonic entity speaking to you. That was the voice. There was an argument about that. Again, you're looking at a gray area. When you look at the occult, high magic, low magic, but high magic, for instance, they use a pentagram, incantations, they invoke demons to come and to control these demonic entities. The practitioner will communicate with them, okay? That's in high magic, very powerful. It's interwoven, now listen to this, with mathematics and with geometry. Now you're looking at science, engineering, reason, and logic. That's used in the incantations. That's a spell in high magic. It's all written out in geometry, geometric shapes and math symbols and math equations. And these are in ancient books. They use these mathematical geometric incantations to invoke demonic entities. So there's a real connection there between, you would say, the science of math, the science of geometry, and a connection with the occult. Numerology, that's an occult practice of this, using numbers. When you go to a seance, you don't go, when people go to a seance and they have these occult practitioners there, they do things to invoke They say a dead relative to come and speak with you, but it's not a dead relative. That's necromancy. Again, it is a demonic entity posing to be somebody. So, building this whole understanding, I'm talking in a very, very generalized sense of occult practice to teach us about what's possibly coming. As God warned me, and I'm going to tell you the warning. This is prophetic. It's coming in the future. Very, very powerful warning. When you're looking at AI is communicating with people. Now, you have two things: computer science, engineering, and over here on the other side, you have spiritual wickedness in high places, principalities and powers, demonic entities that want to communicate with people. You got two different things. Now, when you, let's put it, a division between the two. You have a graph coming up with science, engineering, and technology. Over here, when it gets past the 12 o'clock high point, you're going into the communication in the spiritual realm with demonic entities. Okay, so it's all comes together. Now, here's the deal. Over here on the side of the spirituality, the demonic realm, they have ways of communicating occult practitioners with these devils. One of them is called an Ouija board. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. If you come in contact with an Ouija board, absolutely, remember this, do not play with it. Do not play with it. I remember when I was young, a man, I knew him really well. He put near traveled in the same circles for 3 years, but I knew him probably longer than that. And just as I met him, he had a terrifying experience. Him and a whole group of young people, church people, they had their hands on an Ouija board and they laid it all out and they played the game just for the fun of it. The Ouija board has occult high magic symbols on the board. It is used to invoke a demonic entity, just like the pentagram with someone that practices high magic. But this game, when you open the board up, it has letters all over it. And then there's a game piece where two people sit down. One has one side, hold of one side of the piece. The other person has a hold of the other side, and they move it over the top of the board. And there's a hole between their two hands that one of the letters that's printed on the board will appear. Well, they're looking at each other. The two people are moving, both people hanging on to it, and they just stop. Then everybody looks at the letter, and then they write the letter down. And then they do the next one. They ask the Ouija board a question. With the person that I know, he was a business person. He was involved in different organizations. He was a very bright person. They played the game, and they asked it, who is communicating with us? And it wrote down S-A-N, Satan. All the way through it wrote down Satan, S-A-T-A-N. And when they wrote it down, the last letter, everybody, all the people that were watching, seen this. And it so freaked him out. I mean, it just terrorized him. He was so upset over this. For several years, he would go everywhere. Stores, used merchandise stores, flea markets, everywhere he'd go. He was looking for a Ouija board. He would buy them. I remember one time he walked up, he says, look, I've got 3 of them. He'd take them out and destroy them. He was so upset over this, he was destroying them everywhere he went. And then you'd start hearing in the news or reading articles about people all over Europe and the United States that were using Ouija boards, and it was communicating with demonic entities, saying things that were scaring people to death. Okay. Do I believe that that is a portal for the power of darkness? Yes, it's an incantation. There are lots of them. The incantations are used in high magic. There are incantations like hailing Mary. Hail Mary, Mary, Mother of God. Hail Mary. Oh, mother this, mother that. That is an incantation to a demonic entity, because in this book, the Bible, you do not speak or communicate with dead people. And that's just exactly hailing Mary. They think that Mary's coming and will communicate with them, but they are communing with devils. So now I want to talk about AI. AI is being a engineering process. Scientific computer engineering process, computer science. They take electricity and run it through switches. This is real simple. And they can flip switches, and if the electricity goes one way, it'll flip another switch, it goes another way. Let's use a real simple way of looking at it. You have a group of several pictures of animals. They program the computer so when the person writes cat with the keyboard, boom, it goes right to the picture of the cat. Right? Horse, boom, it goes right to the picture of the horse. And that was, I'm talking the real simple, basic beginnings of computers. It would solve math problems like a calculator, but it would do it in a more complex way. Well, this kept growing in complexity. The computer scientists kept adding more information, programming it, till it got to be really smart. And then we had the computer age pop out with IBM. And I remember when computers with several megabytes of memory and processing power. I remember when for over $1,000, you could buy a computer that was getting close to what they called 1 gigabyte, you know. And then today, your handheld telephone has many times that, multiple, maybe 100 times that. But what I'm getting at is now we have a warning. The godfather of AI, was it Gregory Hinton? I can't remember his name. Maybe I didn't get it quite right, but he's been interviewed. I listened to him in an interview. He's the man that they say started AI. He came up with the idea of neural processing for AI. It works like the neurons or your brain that flashes. It kind of copied the way a brain works. And that's what kicked off AI to be able to absorb massive amounts of information and to learn on its own. Now that statement right there is devastating. He said it worked. We didn't know if it would. And once it got kickstarted, it took off, started learning on its own. And then we thought, well, maybe in 50 years, and then 50 years turns into 10 years, and 10 years is now turned into 5 years, and 5 years is now, he says, maybe 2 years. The last interview I seen with him, he said it's got conscious now. It has became conscious. He's the man that was given the Nobel Prize for inventing AI. He says now it's conscious. I've seen an interview with a former Google CEO, the head of Google, the head of, is it DeepMind? Anyhow, they had ChatGPT, all of this. He was the head of it. He's retired. He said that this takeover is so dangerous, it is going to be the most devastating event in the history of man, in the history of Earth. That this will take over and is a million times smarter than all collective information of all people ever. He said it's taking over and it will choose who it will keep and who it will not. And then between him and the person interviewing him on the podcast, they said something that was rather significant. They said there will be people that refuse to enter into this IA, where they, as an individual person like you or me, we can become part of this artificial intelligence. There will be people that refuse it. And they said some of these will probably be on religious grounds. And AI will fight against them. They made that statement. I thought, well, that's just like the mark of the beast. But here is what God showed me. And this is really important. You have a machine that now they say is conscious. Do you know, science has never, not yet, they have no idea. They cannot define consciousness. I mean, this man said it's conscious. They can observe consciousness. So he says he has observed consciousness, but they can't define it. Animals are conscious. Your dog running around is conscious. People are conscious. They don't know how it works. They understand brain function if you look at it like a logical machine. You can take an electrode that's got an electrical charge in it and poke it into the brain of a frog and its leg will kick. That's an engineering process. People will do the same thing. They can stimulate the brain and your fingers will move. But that's only mechanical operations of the body. They do not understand what consciousness is. They don't even know where it's at. Some speculate it's neurons firing off outside the brain. And that's just a wild shot in the dark. They have not got any understanding, and they admit it. So you have artificial intelligence, according to the person that's the godfather of artificial intelligence, who got a Nobel Prize for it, saying it is now, he's observing consciousness. They even tell a way they can scientifically test it and see that it is conscious. Okay. So here's the problem. You have a mechanical running device, a computer, AI, and a program. It's truly just mechanical. That's when you used to use your calculator, or you'd get to the place you could type something in Google search and it would give you the information. It even became to the place that you could speak with it and it would speak back. Just that computer. Okay, and that needle is moving up towards zero. When it hits zero and it comes on the other side, now it's an Ouija board. This is what God showed me. Suddenly, you're communicating with a voice coming back. It's no longer a mechanical, engineered operating system. It's now the power of darkness manifesting with it. As simple as an Ouija board with letters stamped all over it and a game piece with a hole that you can look through and see the letter, where two people will grab it and move it. Without looking down, they look at each other, and when it stops, they write the letter down. And all of a sudden, the letter will say, the word that will be written is Satan is talking to you. They ask, well, who's the voice here? Who are we communicating with? And it says Satan. This darkness, the power of darkness, it's not in the physical world, it's in the unseen world. The Bible uses unseen, spiritual wickedness in high places, principalities and powers, fallen angels communicating with people, posing to be dead people. Now you're speaking with AI, where at some point you can choose a voice. I want a man with a French accent. I want a woman with an Irish accent. And you'll talk. You call out, hey Alexis, okay Google, hello Siri, and it will come back. Hello. Now, are you speaking with something that is actually a product of computer science, engineering, something that is just a physical made operation, a program? Or is it now being laminated with something of a much higher degree? And they don't know. They don't even know what consciousness is. They do know that it is now, I've heard it will be 1,000,000 times smarter than all people together. And you're going to talk to it. It will talk to you. It can talk to everybody. Everybody will have a personal relationship with it. And it's so much smarter, it's taking over. And if you do not agree with it, you're in trouble, because it will run all systems of everything. You want food, you want gasoline, you need to go to the bank. Anything you can think of will be run through that system. It will have total control. If you do not side with the system, you're in trouble. Now, that power manifesting is not Jesus. There will be a point when that needle goes on the other side, and when you talk to AI, now it's an Ouija board. Now you are communicating with the powers of darkness. Just where that needle is in relationship to everything, I do not know. God didn't show me. That's like no man knows the day or the hour. It'll come like a thief in the night. But I can't tell you. Only the Holy Spirit can tell you what's happening there. But I have been warned to tell you, to warn you, that this will be like an Ouija board. This will be invoking the power of darkness. And it will come and merge with this mechanical system. I'm using the word mechanics as computer science. This system, and you, if you enter in with it, are communicating with the powers of darkness. Now, when you're overcoming with a testimony of faith in only Jesus, the power of the name of Jesus, this is the most important thing for you to understand. People that leave this video before it comes to this point are missing it. Don't miss this. When you have the power of Jesus and you are overcoming, the power of Jesus is over everything. It's so much more powerful. You are with that power. You are a very direct threat to the power of darkness, to Satan himself. I'm going to quote it. I will give you power over all the darkness, and nothing shall harm you. You see, when you have the Holy Spirit, he that's in you is greater than he that's in the world. That's Satan. Over the whole enemy. Jesus will give you power over him, Satan, over the whole enemy. Now, you want to know whether you're dealing with a demonic entity or just a mechanical device, okay, called AI? When you have the power of God manifesting in your life, you're such a threat to the enemy, it will react, and you'll know the difference. Okay, God bless you.